Hey, closeteers. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. So we're going to take a break on the talking about the kids for a minute, just for me to add some other content on one of the things that happened that caused our marriage to break down, to fail after he had spent a 6-year sentence, almost 6 years, in prison. Y'all gotta forgive me. It's been a minute and I've been doing like little short videos, just trying to keep content flowing. But my oldest son and his family came down to celebrate his birthday, and we did a whole lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. I went paintballing for the first time. Listen, if you go paintballing, put some layers of clothes on so you don't end up like me. Look at this. Oh my God. And this is just one of them, one that I can show you. I have bruises everywhere, and some of them hurt and some of them didn't. So some of them I knew that I was probably gonna bruise, and some of them I didn't. This particular bruise, which is, I think, and this is like after a week. It's been like a week and it still looks like this. But this one right here, the paintball, it did not even burst, and this is what I have. So and I didn't have on any sleeves. I went out there trying to be cute, and I paid a price for it. So I'm telling you, if you go paintballing, put you on some layers, some thick stuff, so you don't end up like this. And this was low impact. So just imagine if you go out there with full impact, right? It's ridiculous. I liked it though. I had fun. I would do it again. It's just I'd be better prepared next time. And my team, we won. We only lost one match. I was out there putting in work. Yep, I sure was. And then I lasted longer than a whole lot of the younger folks too. Yes, I'm saying that. I'm blasting y'all. I ain't telling your name, but I'm blasting you. Okay, let's get serious. Let's get serious. So today I want to talk about conversation, communication, and understanding. Because some people are introverts, some people are extroverts, and some people are ambiverts. And sometimes you're in a relationship where one is one and one is the other. But even if you're in a relationship where both are the same, it does not mean that you communicate the same, you understand the same, right? You comprehend the same. It doesn't mean that, because when it comes to words and feelings, and a lot of that stuff changed based on how you was raised and where you were raised. As for me, in America, in this country, I know that certain words and certain expressions on the East Coast mean something different than that of on the West Coast, than that of in the South, and that of in the North. So our language, though we may be saying the same exact words, our language means it has a different meaning. If you get what I hope I'm getting this point across to you, because what I'm going to talk about is the total breakdown in communication, the total breakdown in understanding, the total breakdown at one point in just conversation, period. There was a lot of moments where we weren't speaking for days, even weeks. Now, weeks didn't happen often, but it happened. Days happened often. And for me, that drove me insane. It drove me insane because I didn't understand how we could live in the same house, see each other every day, sleep in the same bed together, and not even say good morning, good night, hey dog, cat, tramp, hoe, slut, whatever. Oh, whew. So I can't make this one safe for kids because of what I just did. It's okay. Maybe I can edit it out or kind of go over it with something. Yeah, we would go days like that. And like I said, no far and in between, weeks. like that. And it had, our communication was just, it was either it wasn't happening, or when it was happening, we weren't speaking the same language. We could not understand each other. And that's because both sides had a whole lot of unprocessed feelings, unprocessed hurt, unprocessed pain, and a lot of accusations between the two that were unspoken. And so it made it very difficult. And this is, again, is why I say it is critical to get professional help. I think you need professional help, period. I think that counseling can help anyone, even people that don't feel like they've had any traumatic experiences. I think it could help you, period. But if you've been through things, you got to understand something. When you come into a relationship, you're bringing your past trauma, and then you have to deal with the trauma that you cause one another, the hurt and the pain that you cause one another. You still have to deal with that. So sometimes, and then you have to get to a point where your what you're going to accept. Are you being reasonable with what you will and what you won't accept? Are you being too reasonable? You have to get to that point, because I learned that if you are a doormat, it is hard for people to see you as anything other than if you have been a doormat, it is hard for people to see you as anything other than a doormat. So even if they're not consciously walking on you, subconsciously, because it's learned behavior, and they've been trained to be okay with doing this to you, it just becomes as breathing. They just do it. And sometimes it's done without any malice, right? Now, I'm not saying that it's not done with malice, because sometimes it is. But there are sometimes when things are done and there's no malice, there's just past practice. There's just, I'm used to being able to do this to you, or I'm used to being able to say this to you. And so when you're remaking yourself, or when you've been remade, it's hard to break those cycles, those habits. It's hard to break those habits. So when you try to break those habits, that's when tension arises. And when that tension arises, if you don't have any conflict resolution skills, all hell gonna break loose, right? All hell is going to break loose, because somebody's gonna be offended, and then somebody's gonna be defensive. And you can't come to an agreement when it's like that, because no one has any conflict resolution skills. So therefore, no one is really ready to agree to disagree. And that happened to us. He had a lot of things that he needed to process outside of the things that happened before he went to prison. And then on top of what happened when he went to prison, then plus when he came home, home wasn't the home he knew. He had known past. Home wasn't where he was the one who was looked to for everything. Everything was ran through him for approval, stuff like that. And then plus his mother had taken extremely ill. So all this stuff was happening in his life, and he didn't know how to deal with his feelings. He has never been a man that believed that crying was okay, that believed that being emotional was okay. So he had a lot of emotional things that most of us maybe would have cried for, and just probably let out a whole lot just by crying, that he bottled up. And so he was like a tea kettle. right? Screaming, letting off steam, little bit at a time, little bit at a time, little bit at a time, waiting to explode. And he was never given any tools on how to deal with these situations that he was being hit with. And he didn't know how, because I can't speak for him, or he didn't want to see the information, the help for him to be able to process what was going on with him. So I don't know about anybody else, but for me, what I've experienced is when you are hurting like that, right? Those closest to you they bear the brunt of your pain. They bear the brunt of your pain. And so that is what was happening. He just did not know how to deal with us. He didn't know how to talk to us. He didn't know how. And so things just went from bad to worse. And so then originally my response was that it's gonna be okay, we're gonna get through this. I understand, my mindset was, let me fix this, right? Because again, I didn't have the proper tools either. And in my mind, and I figured I could fix it. I figured I could help him. And I promise you, every time I thought I was fixing it, things got worse. Things got worse. It became like we were, I don't want to say competition, but it was like we were fighting one another on everything. It's like if I had a good idea about something, it felt like, because it came from me, he shot it down because he didn't want me to receive any glory. And so that put me in my own head. And so now I'm fighting. Like, hold on. And I'm going to be perfectly honest here. It got to a point where I was like, listen, Negro, I held this thing down. I held this thing down. Your kids never missed a meal. You know what I'm saying? We were homeless. They had clothes on their back. I held this thing down. How you just don't want to give no credit, period, or how I can't have a good idea, right? How nothing good could come from me. I built up this resentment in myself, and he may have fed into it, but I'm taking responsibility for my own self, right? Even if it was his intention to hurt me and to be mean to me, I knew what I had did, and I should not have thought that I needed to prove that, or I needed an attaboy, because I did what I was supposed to do. I was a parent. So that was what I was supposed to do. As a parent, I can't stop parenting because he's not there, right? As a provider, I can't stop providing because he's not there, because I had become all those things. I had always been a parent, and I had always sub-provided. But now I was soul providing. And so I felt like he was unappreciative. And no, I didn't want him to kiss my butt, and no, I didn't need him to, oh, mama, you did this, and oh, you held me. I didn't need any of that to come out of his mouth. But I did need his actions to show that he appreciated, that he never missed getting letters. He never missed getting boxes. He never missed getting visits, me taking phone calls. Sometimes my phone bills range from $500 to $1,500, okay? And so I felt like there should have been a level of appreciation for that, to the point of when I have a suggestion about something dealing with this family, don't shoot me down like I don't know what I'm talking about or I don't know what I'm doing. Because boo, for 6 years, I done this thing, right? And so it became like a competition between him and I, and it was just horrible. If you get into a competition with your spouse, that is one of the worst things that could happen to your relationship, because you no longer see each other as allies, right? It was like we were doing two different kinds of building. He had a building over here being built, and I had a building over here being built. And so it was counterproductive to our children, because our children are seeing this. We made it a habit to not argue and fight and all that in front of our children. It was years before they seen anything like that. Even my friends, and some of them will see this video, and I hope they'll have the courage to comment and let you know. I had friends that told me they didn't think we were normal because they had never seen us argue. And these are friends that I had before I was with him, and then friends that not too long after getting with him that I had made, right? And they was like, they didn't, when it started crumbling, when everything started crumbling, and I could no longer keep a straight face, and I could no longer wait till we got home, when I just started to explode and burst at the seams in front of people. They shared with me, not in the midst of everything. They weren't harsh like that. But, at some point, my girlfriends shared with me, like, girl, we did not think y'all was normal. Y'all, we never heard you complain. We never seen y'all argue. And, and I had to explain to them that came from my mother. Now, at some point in these videos, we're going to get to my upbringing and stuff like that, and the things that I faced, and how I even became married at 16. I got married at 16 years old. How I even became a person who got married at 16 and had 2 kids by that time. We'll get to that. So, my mother told me long ago, one of the things she instilled in me, and because by her account and by some of the things I've seen too, my daddy was a hoe. He wasn't no good when it came to being in a monogamous relationship. He took care of his people. He took care of his family. I was the only kid they had in common, but he took care of all of us. And I was the baby. And he took care of all of us. But I was the one kid they had in common. And if he was dealing with a woman, he took care of her. So this man spread that money and that peen like it wasn't a thing, okay? So my mother said to me, never let another woman know what's going wrong in your house, because then you give her the tools to take your man. And so that's one of the things she said to me that stuck with me, right? So when we were, but it was good and bad, right? Because then I had nobody to talk to. So I had a lot of built up stuff because I wouldn't talk to anybody about what was going on, and I wasn't close with my sisters, and so it was a bittersweet kind of thing. It was bittersweet. The sweet part of it was, for a lot of people that looked in on our relationship, they seen this beautiful black love, and then it was also sweet that everybody wasn't in our business and didn't know what was going on with us. But now the bitter pill of that was I had no outlet. So I was dying. And nobody knew it. On more than one occasion, I wanted to commit suicide. And nobody knew it because I didn't feel I could talk to anybody. I'm going to pause right here because this is not what I want this video to be about. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to come back.